I want to ask you something. How many of you like football? Okay, then you're gonna love the next presentation. The next presentation comes from one of our main sponsors in the face of Neil MacGowan. Let's hear it for him. He acts as a director of the digital intelligence there. So please entertain our guests.
Thank you very much. I don't know, long day, still a way to go. So what I want to do during this session is try and make it a bit fun, right? I don't know about you, but I've learned a lot. I learned a lot this morning. I learned that humans and AI can live happily together and we're not going to replace their jobs. This afternoon I learned that instead AI is going to put 40 or an infinite number of monkeys with an infinite number of typewriters out of business, so they're not going to come up with the complete works of Shakespeare. Now I do apologise, I am English, so I apologise for my accent, and I also apologise for my sense of humour. And I do work for a US software vendor, but this is not a sales pitch by any stretch of the imagination. I think one of the things that we heard this morning was when somebody has a problem, before you start writing the algorithms to solve that problem, you ask 7 times why, right? Why are you doing this? And that's pretty much what I spend all my days doing, talking to customers about why they're doing this. So this is what we're going to explore in this presentation, is practical applications of AI, and then how do customers or businesses actually realize the returns on those applications of AI. And we're going to do it in the context of the Football World Cup. So I mentioned I'm from a US software company, some definitions before we start. When I say football, I mean this and not that, okay? And when I say World Cup, I mean this and not that, right? World champions means world champions. So now that we've got that sorted, what is the World Cup, basically? Well, fundamentally, it's big business, right? FIFA alone made $2.6 billion profit out of the Brazil World Cup, okay? I think it was $15 billion investment. They made $2.6 billion profit. That's just FIFA, right? And with regard to Russia, they're expecting a 0.2% increase in their gross domestic product in the second and third quarters of this year as a result. Okay, so it's huge, huge business. And you'd think, okay, well, FIFA made so much money. What are they doing with technology and artificial intelligence? Well, what they're doing is they're coming into the 21st century and introducing goal line technology. So maybe this one would have stood in the 2010 World Cup when England were playing Germany. Not bearing a grudge or anything, but there you go. So they're introducing goal line technology, video assistant referees, etc. So FIFA is going digital. But fundamentally, every business nowadays is digital, right? Doesn't matter what you're doing, you're using digital channels. Who knows Ryanair? Love them or hate them, they provide a service, right? A few years ago, they used to describe themselves as an airline with a website, right? Now they describe themselves as a digital business that happens to have a few aircraft, okay? If their digital channels are not online, they cannot sell seats. They're the only people that sell their seats. So their aircraft may as well stay on the ground. And they're using, various techniques to calculate how they price their seats, how they meet demand, the seasonality, the patterns, etc. Domino's Pizza, as an example. Who knows Domino's Pizza, right? Everyone. Over 80% of their orders come through digital channels. So if digital isn't there, then they may as well close the stores. As recently happened in the UK with KFC when they ran out of chicken. So you can see that pretty much every business is digital, and some businesses are moving that way, and some businesses like Airbnb started that way. So what's the wider impact to those digital businesses of Russia 2018? Okay, well, it's huge financially. You think about the betting and gaming industry, right? You think about sportsbook, in-play betting, etc. There's huge demand will be generated by major events like the World Cup. But think about other things like travel, people traveling to and from the games, the peaks in demand, the accommodation that's required. The grocery industry, how many people will have World Cup parties where the barbecue's going to be on, people are going to be coming round, you need lots of beers, etc. Catering, so the likes of Domino's. You need to order your pizza for half time and for extra time. It's a huge industry. Retail. Think about the shirt manufacturers. Adidas, Nike, etc. Huge demand for what they sell during this period. And the hospitality industry. People going to bars and pubs to watch the games. Not to mention media, right? In terms of the advertising revenues they get and so on. So it's huge for everybody concerned. So why are they using AI? Specifically around the World Cup, but in general. Why do those sorts of businesses use AI? Well, fundamentally it boils down to three things, right? It boils down to, first of all, understanding behaviour. They want to understand the behaviour of their customers. What do their customers want? What do they do normally? If they understand that, they can start thinking about predicting behaviour. Okay? What are my customers going to do? Right? But perhaps the ultimate goal, beyond predicting behaviour, is to actually influence behaviour. Right? And some very interesting use case examples from our customers, where they're looking at what actually drives people to do stuff. Right? A great example. How many people know Waterloo Station in London? Right, it's the busiest station in London, Central London Station. We have a customer called Eagle Eye that specialise in loyalty management, right? So loyalty cards for stores, etc., and issuing coupons, etc. So targeted marketing of individuals. And recently, there was an issue at Waterloo Station that caused massive delays. Trains were being cancelled, trains were delayed by hours. And they used the information that they had about their customers to identify those individuals that they knew travelled regularly on that route and sent them all a voucher for a free gin and tonic at one of the local establishments outside Waterloo Station. Okay? Now, those individuals wouldn't necessarily have gone out and bought a gin and tonic, but if you're going to sit and wait for an hour and a half for your train, I sure as well have a free one. And once I've drunk that one, I might have another one, right? So this is, understanding what drives people to do things. And the reason ultimately that they're doing that is because they want to drive demand for shirts, demand for pizzas, demand for beer, right? And they want to also be able to satisfy that demand. So when the customers come in, they come flocking in for the best odds on that match, or the best in-play betting, they want to be able to make sure that they can satisfy that demand. So that's really where we come in. Delivering that sort of digital excellence, that experience that everybody's becoming accustomed to, on your mobile apps, through your browser, through your tablet, etc. Delivering that is not easy, right? AI is not easy, right? Building the algorithms, etc. But if you've gone to all that effort to drive people to your site to buy whatever it is you're selling, actually delivering that service where they can consume your product or service is a real challenge. And it's a real challenge because there's a huge plethora of technologies and processes involved. All right, the applications, the infrastructure, the development languages, they're all changing. Things are changing from the traditional, it was in the data center, now it's in the cloud, right? Whatever cloud it may be. Things are changing from physical servers that used to have names, to virtual machines that had numbers, to containers that we don't even know how many of them there are, and then serverless. And monolithic applications that deliver those services are now being broken up into microservices, which are being spun up and down in order to satisfy demand. So everything's becoming dynamic. And it's not just the technology from a dynamic infrastructure perspective, but it's also the processes in your organization, the way that you work. Most of the organizations that we're working with are going headlong for DevOps, right? They want to deliver faster, they want to deliver more often, they want to deliver what the customer wants in order to drive the business forward. And they're also actually changing their business, right? So I work with a large customer called Ocado. Anybody in the room know Ocado? No? Maybe? Right, okay, so Ocado, the world's largest online-only grocery provider, completely revolutionized the way that people buy groceries. So no stores. It's all fully automated warehouses that store more than twice the number of line items that you'd find in the largest supermarket and deliver it at a fraction of the waste. Okay? So, right, they're a grocer. But actually, no, they're a technology business. They now sell that technology to other supermarkets around the globe. And that's transforming their business and their revenue. But those applications that are delivering those services are incredibly complex. And they're getting increasingly complex as we move into things like serverless computing, distributed applications across multi-cloud strategies, etc., and using all sorts of different development languages. And in that complexity, we're faced with this, elephant in the room, right? Which is time is money. If you're slow, you may as well be down, right? If you're not functioning correctly, you may as well be down. If somebody goes to get the best odds on that game, and it takes 6 seconds for it to load, then they'll go somewhere else, okay? So, realistically, you cannot afford to drop the ball when it comes to satisfying the demand that you've generated. That's an England goalkeeper, by the way, so you know. His name's Robert Green, and he would love me for repeating this over and over again. You notice there's a little bit of a theme here as well in terms of the images, a little bit of England, Germany. We'll get there in the end. So what you need to do, if you don't want to drop the ball and you've got an incredibly complex environment, is you need to actually change your tactics, your approach to the way that you actually manage those business applications, okay? The applications that you're driving your customers to. You need to move away from the static approach of monitoring things. Remember I said servers used to have names? Virtual machines used to have numbers. So servers were pets, you used to have a spreadsheet with the names in it. Virtual machines were like cattle, right? They had numbers, and if one of them was sick, you shot it and started up another one, right? Containers, we think of them as being like bees in the hive, or fulfilling a function, workers. Serverless, I like to think of as bacteria. But anyway, so we need to move away from that static approach to a much more dynamic approach where we start thinking about monitoring the life cycle, because things are being created and destroyed. If you have a problem now, or you had a problem 5 minutes ago, chances are the infrastructure and the architecture of that application has changed since then, right? So diagnosing what actually caused that problem is going to be a real headache. So if we change our tactics, what we need to do is we need to start operating more as a team. And any people in the room working in DevOps environments? Okay, so it's a team sport, right? Everybody has a stake in the outcome, in the ultimate goal, right? It doesn't matter whether you're a developer, or you're in IT operations, or you're in product management, marketing, customer care, you're an exec, everybody has a shared goal, right? And we need to start working as a team in support of delivery of that goal. So I'm old enough to remember the Waterfall Approach and ITIL. We saw some of that earlier in this session. Incident, problem change, release, config. And they used to be, if we released once every 6 months, and then we spent the next 5 months fixing that, and then we'd release another one. And you had these gatekeepers, QA. That used to be the mantra. You can't put anything into production without going through QA. Now in the DevOps era, things are being deployed so quickly that really the mantra is, You can't go into production without instrumentation, right? You have to be able to see, you have to have the senses, if you like, the sense of touch on my applications to understand how are they performing, right? Am I making things better or am I making them worse? So that, if you want that degree of sensitivity as to how your applications are performing, that involves lots and lots of data sources. Okay, New Relic, we provide various agents that allow you to capture the mobile experience browser. We can generate synthetic robotic users, we can look into your applications, and we can monitor your infrastructure. But there's a whole host of other stuff out there which is important to you in terms of understanding that demand and how you satisfy that demand. Even down to social and email. So trend analysis, looking at what's happening on Twitter as to whether or not people perceive what we're delivering as valuable. And it's important, one of the things that organizations are doing, and Eagle Eye, who I mentioned earlier, doing that targeted marketing, is the way that they're using AI is so that they can make things personal to the individual. You take all of that data and then you can extract the personal aspect of it and deliver specifically what that customer wants, okay? But in order to do that, you have to understand every user, right? It's all very well, you can sample, right? And you can say, this user got a great experience. Thumbs up, let's all get our bonuses, right? And then this user comes along and gets a less great experience, right? So, that's the real world. If you aggregate, you get a false impression. You think that, every user is getting an all right experience. But realistically, in order to better understand how everybody experiences your applications and your services, you have to sample every user. And the net result of that is that you start generating huge volumes of data. In a lot of cases, the data that you collect from monitoring everything in your environment can actually dwarf the amount of data you have in your application in the first place, right? If you think about every component, every application, microservice, every transaction, every user, every mobile session, it's a huge, huge volume of data. So what you need for that is a platform that can scale, and can scale to meet the biggest day, whether that day is World Cup final day. If you're in the betting and gaming industry, it might be Grand National Day. If you're in the retail sector, it might be Black Friday. Those are going to be the peaks where your business goes through the roof. What you need is a platform that can scale to meet your demands on that day and provide that real-time visibility into how my applications are performing. And that's what New Relic does. This isn't a sales pitch, all right? If you want to know more about how we do that, then we're more than happy to talk to you later on. But it's that platform that can ingest 1.6 billion events per minute from 17,000 customers and is used by over 500,000 users, that enables us to actually provide real intelligence and actionable insights into how to manage your business and your applications. So we have this huge volume of data. This is all hosted in the cloud, by the way. So everything that's happening in our customers' environments is coming into our platform. And we spoke to our customers about, what do they want us to do with AI? And then we said why, and then we said why 6 more times, right? Okay, but fundamentally, what our customers were asking us to do with artificial intelligence was to actually allow them to make sense of that huge volume of data, right? To help them, reduce outages, decrease mean time to restore, to deliver, understand how they use, in fact, our applications so that we can deliver better features and functionality to them, and introduce things which make their life easier was what they were looking for. So we, at New Relic, we don't tend to talk about artificial intelligence. We tend to talk about applied intelligence. So it's applying various techniques, various methods in order to drive a specific outcome. Okay, and some of that is machine learning. Some of it's just good maths, right? Some of it's conditional logic. There's a whole host of things, right? But what we're trying to do is to drive a specific outcome for our customers. So some of the things that we're doing within New Relic, we do baseline alerting. We heard about this, I think, in one of the earlier presentations. Tell me what's normal, alert me when it's abnormal. But here we do this in an interesting way where we deploy multiple algorithms and we allow the system to determine which is the most accurate and then to constantly reevaluate that. So if behavior changes in your environment, then it may switch algorithms in order to determine what is normal. And then it will bubble up anomalies. The interesting thing about this is rather than doing it on specific metrics as well, we can do this on complex queries. So within our database, you could do a query which is talking about business data. How many orders am I receiving? What's my average order value? And things like that, and still do the anomaly detection. We also are doing things which make developers' lives easier, right? So if you release something and you're releasing little and often, then you're going to break stuff, right? And we do it, and there's an example of us doing it on here as well, okay? Because we're deploying multiple times a day into our production environment. But you will break stuff. If you're not breaking stuff, you're not innovating, okay? When you break stuff, imagine you've got an application there which is typically throwing 5,000, 10,000 errors a minute or an hour, whatever it may be, depending upon how bad your app is. And then all of a sudden it goes up to 100,000, 500,000 errors. Okay, the first thing you want to know is what's common about it, right? And that's what machines are great at. So look into all of that data and find out what's common. Help you, slice and dice and facet that data to bubble up the stuff which is important. Where are all the errors coming from? Is it a particular method? Is it a particular set of parameters? Is it a geography? So you can get down to the root cause faster. And we're also introducing our applied intelligence engine, which is called Radar. Okay. How many people in the room old enough to remember MASH? No one. Right, okay. MASH was a program about the Korean War, the first one. I'm not talking about the one that may be coming, but anyway. Radar O'Reilly was the guy that knew the helicopters were coming before anybody else did. So I always think of radar in that respect. But fundamentally, radar is looking into all the data that we collect and trying to surface up stuff which is going to be meaningful to the individuals. Now remember, I said about what our customers are trying to do is they're trying to become personal with their customers, right? With the data. They're trying to target individuals with what those individuals want. This is exactly what Radar is doing. Radar is actually learning what you, as a user of New Relic, like and dislike. It's like a newsfeed, a Facebook newsfeed. It's surfacing, informational stuff, things that maybe require action, and it's giving you the ability to opt in or opt out, to like and dislike what it's reporting to you. We build the algorithms, we deploy the algorithms, we've got our customers' data on which to train those algorithms, and we've also got 500,000, 500,000, I'm getting my zeros in the wrong place. We've got 500,000 users out there that are subject matter experts in their own space that can help teach us whether or not we're doing a good job. So what can you do with Radar? One of the things that people want to do is they want to spot problems faster. I mentioned that we make mistakes. This is actually, we use New Relic to monitor New Relic, okay? So this is a situation where a performance regression occurred. So this is automatic anomaly detection. We know that code was deployed, and we know that the performance of the application changed. And as a result of that, we can see that the number of errors increased by 757%. It was as a result of lazy loading, etc. And what we can do is we can actually give people the action to take as a result of that. Now the data here is coming from multiple sources, multiple feeds. And Radar is bringing that together into context and saying this is something that you should be aware of. Something else you might want to do is spend money more wisely with Radar. So I don't know how many of you are in the cloud with whichever cloud service provider, but typically organizations, they rush to the cloud to drive innovation, right? To drive geographic reach, to help them deliver faster to market. That's typically what happens. And it's only after you've been doing it for a while that you actually start to look at your AWS bill or whatever it is and you say, Christ, this shit's costing us a lot, right? So how can we actually, help you spend more wisely? So automatically detecting things like over-provisioned instances, underutilized resources, etc. We can do that with Radar. We can help you become more compliant, so we can detect, when things, the configuration of your environment is out of sync. And perhaps the key that everybody's looking for is to get ahead of the game, right? Is to become predictive and proactive. To look at the trends that are happening right now, which indicate that you're heading towards a failure or a performance problem. The most simplistic of that is looking at resource trending. Has the way that I've reconfigured my application, or has that code that I've deployed actually accelerated the rate at which I'm going to run out of resource? So those are some of the things that we're doing already. These are some of the things that we're continuing to do. In fact, some of those are already out there. So error profiling from various other areas, surfacing more predictive patterns, cohort analysis, etc. But this is all driven towards this objective of ensuring the reliability, stability, and performance of the business applications that you're driving your customers to. But when it comes to prediction, there is the benchmark. Anybody remember this guy? No? Paul the Octopus. 100% record in the 2010 World Cup, predicted the outcome of every single Germany match, including the loss to Croatia in the group stage. 100% record. That's a lot to live up to, right? Well, we don't have a Paul, we have a Radar. Okay, and what we're trying to do with Radar, I think it was mentioned in one of the presentations this morning, is we're trying to augment your teams. We're trying to put stuff in the hands of your subject matter experts that enables them to be more effective, okay, in delivering in their role and delivering back to your business. So what might Radar say about who's going to win the World Cup? Well, here's one possible outcome. What do you think? Based upon historical analysis, this is a more probable outcome, right? But either way, one thing that you don't want to do is for it to end up in penalties. So with that, what I'd like to say is thank you very much. I don't want it to be a sales pitch. I just wanted to, talk to you about what some of our customers are doing and how we're helping them to realize the return on those investments with their AI initiatives. So I've got a couple of minutes and I'll open it for questions. Any questions? No? Everybody stunned? My prediction for the World Cup?
Yeah.
England hold the record for the team which has been eliminated in the group stages the most, having never lost a match. Okay, so historically I would say that that's a high probability of that occurring again. Any other questions? No? Okay, well I think we've made up a little bit on time, 3 or 4 minutes. And I appreciate your attention. And like I say, if you're interested in specifically what it is we're doing and how we're doing it, we've got to stand out front. Thanks very much.
Guys, I want to say before you guys.
Before you clapped, I wanted to say that Neo came especially for you guys from the UK, so that's why I wanted to say, give it up for him once again, please. Thank you, Neil. Amazing presentation.
Guys, we would like to thank all the sponsors and participants and the speakers for attending MI Summit, the one and only free event in Munich regarding artificial intelligence. It will become even bigger for the next years because we believe that the science should be hip and free.
Yeah!